YouTube. Today's Wednesday, July 9th. FOMC meeting minutes in the afternoon day. So we did not trade our funded accounts in the morning. I was kind of expecting some weird price action this morning. However, we were very pleasantly surprised with some good price action. Decided paper trade, a $1 million account, ran it up about 6% to 63K on the day. Just in the morning session, we caught a bunch of move. We caught about an 80-point move total in the final AM session for me. Let's just get straight into it. So coming into today, we had this crazy pump up, 7 a.m. right here, and So also, I'm just gonna get to this. I'm gonna also introduce the CISD. What is it called, man? Change in state of delivery, SMT. Mainly just change in state of delivery. I'm gonna start introducing that into my trading. I definitely feel like that's kind of something I want to look into because I traded it today and it basically gave us an entry for this entire down move. As my first entry up to the buy side would have been my classic 2 fair value gap strategy. Anyways, let's get into it. So we come into New York session pumping, overnight. I woke up around 6:30 and then, woke up at 6:30 here. Kind of the saw price. I was like, this is going to be ridiculous. Went to sleep from like 7 to 8 on the couch. Woke up at 8, did my whatever. And then, sit in the market, 9:30, we start pumping. This is our daily candle wick, I believe we just created it on Monday, July 7th. So that was this week, basically a Monday's candle. So I marked that out and I wanted to see how price reacted off of it to the upside. We did not tap any 0.25. We just hit consequent encroachment and we didn't even respect 0.25 to go higher. So, this kind of telling me we're pretty bullish. We want to get up to that buy side. So then once we put in our first down close candle right here, I'm identifying this as a propulsion block. I want to see price basically come above it. This is why this entry is on top of right here. Price came above and re-enter the propulsion block, and then that was an entry. So basically the way propulsions work is it's like an order block. However, let me turn on. It's like an order block. However, it does not require a breakup structure. So you're basically predicting price is going to use that as an order block to go higher based off of your current narrative. So in this case, it's 941. I'm looking for a buy side expansion. And keep in mind, I wasn't even seeing any of this down move. So I was, after we hit buy side, I was kind of neutral, and then I shifted to bearish to take out this low. But regardless, besides the point. So I see this propulsion block. Price gets above it, returns into it. I take my entry as soon as it returns into it. Stop loss below the low. So the first position would look like this, like that. And basically entry target high. Second entry was right here at the high of this candle, basically. So when price decided to respect my propulsion, I entered on the willingness to go higher again. So that was another entry right there. And at this point, my stop was trailed to the high of I think it was about right here at the top of the propulsion block. I was not expecting price to return back into it, so if it did, I would want to be out the trade. And I kept my risk at 5K. So 5K at this, I believe I longed like 15. So 5K risk. And then also when I added my position, I can move my stop loss to also only risk 5K. So I pyramided on a position. And then here we go again. So this is where we get kind of spicy with my strategy. So right now we have our first fair value gap set up right there. And then we have another fair value gap that got set up right there. So immediately, as soon as the candle respects it, I took kind of a late entry. It kind of came out pretty high, but I had a good average, so I was good to go. However, I could enter. I don't know how many I entered. It won't tell me. Oh wait, I bought 5 more at the high, so see, like, it wasn't really as much. 14 and 14. So just you know, I didn't want to average out a bunch because I wanted to put my stop loss below this upper BISI that I want to see respected. And look what happened. We respected it by 0.25 points, and then we pushed higher into our buy side. So once we took out final buy side, I was like, all right, bet. I'm going to sit on my hands, and then I'm going to see what's going to happen. However, if you see here, we have, so I can delete this. So just remember this BISI. I'm going to bring it across. And now I'm going to identify our another 2 fair value gap setup that took us into the highs. So what do I want to see in a 2 fair value gap setup? I want to see, you know, if price wants to get down into that lower one, and if it will, then I want to see it, you know, price to continue lower. So I'll shift my bias to bearish. Or if price respects the upper one, then I want to see price continue, thus, you know, keeping a bullish bias. So price came down, and then we tapped into this lower fair value gap. So immediately I'm shifting my bias to bearish. And then as soon as we get another candle close out of this upper fair value gap, I took an entry right there. And it was kind of unfortunate. I took the entry around there, and then I had my stop loss at the fair value gap high. And this is what happens when price paints outside the lines. You know, you really can't do anything about that. That's just kind of like a bad stop out. However, I kind of realized that if I'm entering on the, like, basically disrespect of a 2 fair value gap sequence, and I'm looking for, you know, price to shift, I guess it would be more probable to wait for a breakup structure, because, you know, we didn't wait for a break. We just waited for us to you know, kind of close out of this. So once I see that breakup structure, you know, a better entry would be over here. Stop loss above the fair value gap would be work, because, you know, we break below this low with this candle, and then that leaves this to be an order block, which we tap into right here. Anyways, that's beside the point. That was a good loss. You know, maybe I could have definitely improved on taking it on a breakup structure, so maybe a little premature, but that is besides the point. Now let's get into the change in the state of delivery. That is something new that I kind of researched last night before, you know, going into this trading session. I was like, you know, I want to see what this entails, because, you know, it gives me, you know, I kind of notice, I kind of know what, you know, an SMT is, and then that, you know, the fair value gap, but I really want to kind of grasp what a SIST is. So a change in state of delivery is when we basically break price with, it doesn't matter if it's a close or a wick, it doesn't matter. Once we break price after this up move, so this entire up move is an order block that basically took out our buy side liquidity. So what is that? Once we break below this, we have changed the state of delivery to the downside. So basically, as soon as we break this with this tiny wick, I take an entry. You can see it's like right at the bottom of that candle, and then, you know, we come up, and then we inverse this lower fair value gap, which I want to see disrespected. I want to see us just continue through it, because we already tapped into it if it's in a 2 fair value gap sequence. So once again, I take another entry on the respect of that inverse fair value gap, and even more confirmation of the SIST. And this is where something kind of new I'm going to take into account with the 2 fair value gap setup is that for the upper fair value gap, or the one that gets respected, so you see how this was the upper one, and then it took us higher into buy side. That fair value gap, basically, I was looking to get inversed. And what happened? So, you know, we come down, we immediately inverse it, and you could take the entry on that, candle reject, and if price left me, I would have been okay. However, coming above this candle right here, this one and this one, gave me kind of like a sweep factor, and I entered on the rejection of that. And then the next candle fully came up even higher, and then it went even lower. And then the first target was right here, the propulsion, the low of this candle, and then our daily wick high, 0.25, and then first presented fair value gap. So very good targets for south side. And also first presented fair value gap was left wide open, so that's why I targeted way down there. So 63K day on $1 million account on demo. Do I wish I traded this on my funded? Not really, because, you know, this trade I would not have traded this on a funded. This trade could have been unfunded, you know, but what is my risk even? You know, I would enter on the respect of that, and then I would target the high. Like, what is that, 17 points, and we're entering right at the high. That's just kind of not something I'd want to do, especially, you know, if I have this entry down here and I can pyramid, yes, I'll take that entry, but not if I'm fresh into it. And then also we have this 2 fair value gap setup. So now I kind of learned basically how to utilize different entries based on my 2 fair value gap setup. And then obviously the change in the state delivery, that was a crazy kind of, you know, eye-opening thing for me, because I never really traded it before this, and, you know, first day I'm trading it, it works, and it's pretty simple, you know, on top of my other strategy, which is that 2 fair value gaps. So yeah, it honestly pretty perfect, and it sent us now lower into our, you know, daily wick, and now we're tapping into old fresh presenteds. But yeah, no, like, it was a very, very clean day. You know, I mean, I was expecting all the sell side to get taken for FOMC, but I guess we have different plans. I hope we don't take them going into you know, like the launch session or something. I want to leave these lows intact so we can go higher. And you can kind of see how this kind of played into, like, affect how FOMC and, you know, kind of price was delaying this up move, because, you know, this is what I was expecting yesterday. You know, I wanted that clean up move, that clean buy side. You know, we swept that sell side, respect that daily fair value gap. I want us to go higher. We could target this high, these highs, these highs, these highs, these highs, and we just did that all today. And we even swept this by nothing, like by barely, just a little. Oh, on ES, no, not on see, we barely swept it on ES, and I was like, all right, you know, bet we'll see what happens. So yeah, we swept that, and now I'm going to aim for this sell side in the afternoon session with my funded accounts. We'll see if I'm going to get an entry, if I'm going to trade. However, you know, very, very, I wouldn't even say easy. I would say, you know, kind of eye-opening trading day that, you know, it's not that hard to read price, you know, especially with, you know, if you have a good strategy, if you know what you want to see. And yeah, I know that was a big confidence boost after yesterday's pretty, like, you know, just like, it was a letdown of a loss, because, like, you know, price just wanted to, you know, pin outside the lines because of, you know, some BS. And then something important to kind of go over here is that, you know, once we take this low, what is it called? Once we take this low, I mean, I guess, you know, you can enter off the, there's a change in state delivery right that low with this kind of thing, and then, you know, enter. That would get our 2 fair value gaps, and you could even pyramid on, and then, you know, get break even to at least aim for that high. However, yeah, I know that was a great trading session this morning. You know, it's kind of nice just to get that, like, you know, confidence back, especially, you know, on paper, because I was going into today, like, you know, I don't really want to trade on my, you know, lives, because I don't know what price is entailing right now. We're just pushing up like crazy, and I was not expecting this entire down move in the AM. I was expecting that in the PM, and I really hope we leave it open, because if we don't, it's going to be a pretty bad afternoon session. But we will see how that goes. And yeah, I will be back in the PM with a market review and if I took any trades. So good luck, future me, and stay locked. Peace out.